Hello and welcome back. We are in Edinburgh today, or Edinburgh, or Edinburgh, or Edinburgh, as you speak Dutch, um, with the Worldliner 777 today. The reason why I do a video on this airplane is, well, I visit some Facebook groups, some internet forums every now and then, and a lot of the times I see the question, well, is the Worldliner 777 a decent substitute for the PMDG 777? Now, I personally cannot answer that question because I don't have the PMDG 777. I already switched from FSX to X-plane before it was released, or actually just before it was released. So I never bought it, the PMDG one. So what I'm going to do in this video is just show you what the Worldliner 777 will bring you. And then it's up to you to decide whether it's a worthy substitute for the PMDG 777 or not. As you can see, the outside, the 3D model of the airplane looks very nice. It's a nice rendition of a 777. And although the airplane was initially designed for and released in X-plane 10, well before X-plane 11 was available, or even in the making, or well, the development of X-plane 11 wasn't even published when this airplane released. So in the core, it's quite an old add-on. However, Flight Factor did release some patches, making it firstly compatible to X-plane 11 back in February 2017. And when I restarted the airplane last weekend for the first time in months, I got a window saying, well, there's a new version available. The version in February was the 1.9.2, and the latest one is 1.9.9, which leads up to the 777 V2 basically. And that's what a lot of people are hoping for. Although Flight Factor at this moment is very busy with their Airbus project. So I presume that the 777 update is a bit lower on the priority list at the moment. But anyway, that's enough chit chat. As you can see, like I said, the outside model, it looks quite nice. I will get in a little bit closer so you can see some more details. Let's see, zoom out a little bit. And of course, with the X-plane 11 compatibility update, they also introduced the reflection, the reflective surfaces that X-plane 11 is well known for. So you do have the visual eye candy already in the V1.99 version that is available now. So that's the outside. Let's jump into the flight deck. Here we are. As you can see, it's a nice 3D rendition of the flight deck of a Boeing 777. Oh, now in the headrest. And a lot of the stuff will work. Not all the circuit breakers, of course. But I will just start her up, program a flight. Fly the SID. I think then I'll cut the video because we are going to fly from Edinburgh to Maastricht-Aachen airport in the south of the Netherlands. So I think startup, takeoff to about Tango Lima Alpha, that will be first in the video. Then I will cut the video, leave out the climb and cruise. That's basically a boring part. Get back to you somewhere over here when I'll do the approach preparation, cut the video again, and then I'll get back as soon as we hit the star entry point, which is basically Osgos. But we might even get back as early as the Eindhoven area. We'll just have to see about that. Southwesterly winds. Weather set manual today because it's well, not too nice to fly in real life. And especially winds, etc., they have quite a frame rate impact. And since recording a video also eats out 8 to 10 frames, then I'm afraid that over the Netherlands the performance will be too poor to actually fly the airplane. So I set weather manual to some lighter conditions. So we have we have scattered clouds and a southwesterly wind about 5 knots. Well, let's get started then. So, well, you started the airplane, of course. First you press on the battery. Switch on the bus ties to auto. And I already connected the GPUs. You do that in the menu, the main menu. You also have to load the airplane when you do that. You have this nice rendition of the airplane. Let me put it in here. Gives a clearer picture. So in here you can enter cargo weights, APU time, taxi time, takeoff, fuel, you name it. That will end up the total weight of the airplane. You have to switch the doors to manual before you open them, otherwise stuff will go wrong. You can attach the GPUs, make a fuel truck appear. You have to check that box, otherwise you cannot load fuel onto the airplane. And you also have to open at least one door in order to load up the airplane. If everything is closed, you cannot load it. And you can set the jogs, which I did right now. I like a dual Q flight director, so let's enter that. Don't use plug-in radios. Well, we don't need to hide the yokes, so this is about it. So let's engage the external power. And the window heat can be turned on already. We set the thrust ASIN computer and the ADIRU on. And let's just go to the flight management computer right away to start the aligning, which will take about 8 minutes. So pause in it. We are today in Edinburgh, Echo Golf, Papa Hotel. Oh. And excuse me for my pronunciation of the name Edinburgh, but as I know or experienced earlier, there are lots of ways to pronounce it, even in the UK. I don't know which is the correct one, so I'll just stick to this. If it's not right, well, so be it. Anyway, we are now in the alignment process. You will see the time to align in here, so it's a good almost 11 minutes. Thought it was 8, but it's 11. So let's just continue with the performance data. If you press the performance init request in here, it will fill the blanks automatically. Let's say that we want well, 2 tons of fuel in reserves. The cruise altitude today will be flight level 410, which is quite high. And let's say the cost index will be 30. This is all done. Now the airplane, well, it isn't at maximum load, especially the fuel is well, quite empty actually. But well, we can do a derated takeoff. Let's derate it to 15%. Move it over to takeoff. Let's say we use flaps 20. We need trim at 5.75. So that's now set. Well, flaps 20 gives some very low V speed, so let's just say we use flaps. I think flaps 15 is sufficient. Might even go for flaps 5. Yeah, flaps 5 is okay. I'm afraid that we will overspeed too quickly. I don't know why it keeps the V1 at 104. That isn't correct. Didn't have that on prior flights, so rev speeds on. No. But anyway, so that's takeoff reference set. Let's just dial in the route. We will fly from EGPH to Maastricht-Aachen Airport, which is Echo Hotel Bravo Kilo. We'll take off runway 24 in Edinburgh. And our flight number today is the Charlie Victor 1051. So, Charlie Victor 1051. Now the flight management computer is, well, as far as I know, completely operational. Yeah, we even have the fixed page. Yeah, so it is. Let's see, we have the route page, blah blah blah. Departure. We will depart runway 24 over the Tango Lima Alpha 6 Charlie departure, or SID, standard instrument departure. And then we will fly via the Uniform Lima 602 to Otteringham. So Uniform Lima 602 to Oscar Tango Romeo. Tango Romeo, there we go. Then we will fly the Uniform Lima 90 to Supel. So Uniform Lima 90 to Sierra Uniform Papa Echo Lima. Yankee 70 to Botso, so Yankee 70 to Bravo Oscar Delta Sierra Oscar. And then it's the Lima 17 to Petit, so Lima 17 to Papa Echo Tango India Kilo. Next page. Direct Spijkerboor or Sierra Papa Yankee. VOR in the north of the Netherlands, 113.3. And from then on, direct to Rovin. Romeo Oscar Victor Echo November. Waypoint. From then on, we'll fly the Victor 33 to Eindhoven. So Victor 33 to Echo Hotel November. And from Eindhoven, we'll fly the Papa 57 to Osgos. So Papa 57 to Oscar Sierra Golf Oscar Sierra. And from Osgos, that's our star entry point, we will fly the Osgo 1 Mike, I think it was, yes. For an ILS approach runway 21. And I think we will make a transition over November Whiskey. Let's just check that. Yeah, November Whiskey, there we go. Into the route. Check it. Looks alright. Check the legs page for route discontinuities. Looks like there are none. So let's activate and execute. So that's the route already dialed in. And let's set this to takeoff ref for prior to takeoff. It's still 4 minutes before the alignment of the IRS. So let's set the mode control panel. We have a V2 of 137. So let's make the indicated airspeed V2 plus 20, which is 157. Initial heading will be 243. That's the runway heading here in Edinburgh. And our initial climb will be 6,000 feet, which is the altitude constraint on the standard instrument departure. So we have that set. So let's run a checklist. Checklists are included, so if you press checklist in here, you get this screen down here. Now you can do something. There are non-normal checklists for engines aborted, well, engine in flight. So this is all operational. You can check that. The PA system works in here. There are no special announcements, but you can do before takeoff, cruise, after landing. Since this is the freight variant of the 777, we're not using the PA since we don't have any passengers on board, of course. But there are also the normal checklists. So let's run the pre-flight checklist now. Now, route manuals, we have that. Flight deck access switch, well, emergency equipment, let's say we've checked that. Overhead maintenance panel checked. Circumbrake sticks, Adero switch is on. Thrust is auto. Primary flight, this is auto. Let's just move it over here so we don't have the speed brake lever. And let's call this view 2. So now we can go from 5 to 2. That's easy. Basically you set your own views by just moving your camera to the position you want, then press right control and any number on the numpad key on the right side of your keyboard. And that will lock the view to that key. So if you then press, so now I set this, this is my numpad 5, and I just assigned this view to numpad 2. Anyway, circuit breaker checks, the gyro switch is on, thrust ASIM computer switch auto, primary flight computer disconnect switch is auto, electric panel battery switch is on. Well, we haven't started the APU yet. It's not on, well, just under 2 minutes, so we can start it up right now. So let's just say start. And once it's running, it will flip back. Now this goes really fast in here. I don't know if that's real time. So let's just say APU generator is on. APU selector set to start. Bus tie switches to auto. Generator control switches on. Off and drive lights remain illuminated until respective engine is started. Backup generator switches go on. So let's just press them on then. So left, right, and the backups, they are on. And the off lights, they will extinguish once the engines are started. So that's completely normal. So that's set. No, left wiper selector is off. ELT switch armed. This emergency lights switch is also armed. Let's check that. Let's see, where are they? Blah blah blah. That's armed. The window eats are on. The left wiper was off. So now we get over to the service intercom switch is off. Passenger oxygen lights extinguished. Window eats are on. Rammer turbine set. Hydraulics. Left and right primary pump switches on. Left and right are on. Charlie 1 and Charlie 2 primary pump switches off. Verify fault lights illuminated. Charlie 1 and Charlie 2. They are on fault right now. And the fault lights are illuminated, so that's checked. Passenger signs panel, well, let's just set them both to on just for the show. Lighting panel, dome light, adjust, storm light switch, master brightness, glare shield, well that's all set. Check that the landing lights are off, they are. APU fire, bottle discharge light is extinguished. Discharge light is extinguished, let's check that. Yep. Cargo fire panel, cargo fire arm switch is off. Let's see, cargo fire, they are both off. And the test works, so that's good. Engine panel, EEC mode switches to norm. We can leave the fuel jettison for now. Oh, here we are to norm, so open this, switch it. That's done. Start igniter selectors to norm and the auto start switch must be on. Well, the start ignition, they are on norm and the auto start can go to on. Fuel jettison, nozzle switch is off, verify valve lights are extinguished. Well, they are off. And these lights are extinguished. Fuel panel. Verify the lock levers in the locked forward position and the orange indicator is not in view. Don't know about that. Map lights not needed. First obviously to set right instrument source selector panel. Navigation source switched off. Display control source switched off. Let's say that's fine for now. Right clock, time date. Yep, this is all done. The heaters are alright. These are good. Clock is alright. Right inboard display selector MFD. Sets FMC selector auto. Landing gear panel. Ground proximity light is extinguished. They are. No. Flap override switch off, gear override switch off, terrain switch off. 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 That's off. That's also off. Yep. Landing gear lever is down. Alternate gear switch is norm. And the auto brake selector goes to RTO. ICAS display is checked. Well, voila, there it is. Indications normal. Primary engine indication display existing conditions. No exceedance values are displayed. MFD secondary engine display switch push. Don't know where that is so quickly, so let's just skip that for now. Blah blah blah. Hydraulic quantities do not display. One oxygen checklist display switch. Lower blah blah blah. Okay. Communication blah blah blah. Center display. So anyway, if you walk through this checklist, you get a very clear startup procedure for the 777. Floor lights, well, that's all not too. Right, seat. Let's say we have done the pre-flight checklist now. So before startup, CDU is set. Yeah, control display, you know, that was set. The MCP is set. We can already switch the LNAV, or switch on the flight directors and press the LNAV and VNAV. Alright, basically we are ready for pushback and startup. Let's switch on the fuel pumps. With the APU running, we can select the APU bleed, set the isolation valves on, open the engine bleeds. We will set the temperature switches to auto. Recirc fans can be off, packs are off, trimmer is off. For now, we can set the pressurization to auto. Anti-ice, that will be dealt with after start. Switch on the beacon and the nav lights. Let's close the door. It's now closed. Doors automatic. We have the APU on. Let's verify that the generator is on. It is. Let's disconnect the external power. And disconnect them here as well. Fuel truck can be dismissed. The parking brake is on, so the chocks can be removed. And here we are. Let's just set the switches here to auto. Electric hydraulics can be switched on. And that's basically it. We will set the cargo heaters one step up. They are on the far aft overhead panel. And let's just call in the Tak voor pushback. As usual with flight vector, as I was about to say, you can control the pushback yourself with the thrust levers and your rudder pedals. But first let's switch on the radios. That's quite vital, of course. Press the off button and then just select which one you want. So radios are also on. Right, parking brakes off. Let's just push back and then do the engine start. You can't do an engine start during pushback, unfortunately. By the way, the Edinburgh airport scenery that you are looking at is freeware. I downloaded that from, I think it was the x-plane.org forums. And this will do the trick, so let's stop the pushback and set the parking brake, dismiss the tug, and start up engine number 1, or start up engine number 2 first. So start, check the engine display. There it goes. When this reaches about 20, you open up the fuel valve. So there we go. Switch to run. And now we have these massive engines come alive. And as soon as they're started, you will see the heat blur behind the airplane. It's starting to appear. Here we have it. So engine number 2, the start switch will flip to norm any minute now. There it goes. So let's start up engine number 1. And there it goes. And again, as soon as it reaches about 20, here we go, flip it to run. And there we have the generators coming online, providing the electric power. So good engine start on engine number 1 by the looks of it. Let's flip over the bleed. So it's now on auto. Packs can go switched on. Trim air can be switched on. Recirculation fans go on. Let's set the taxi light on. This is all right. We can switch off the APU now. And let's say we are almost clear to taxi. Let's do a flight control check first. So full left, full right, neutral, down, up, neutral, then the rudder, full left, full right, neutral. So flight controls are checked. Let's set the checklists. Well, we already had the engine started, so after start checks, APU selector can be switched off. Engine anti-ice selectors As required, let's set everything in the anti-ice department to auto. Recalls checked, flight controls checked. Ground equipment is clear. So let's set the flaps to flaps. What did we say? 5. 1, 5. QNH 29902, that's alright. So let's release the parking brakes and be on our way. Of course, the 777 has two massive engines which provide a lot of power. We are not fully loaded with fuel, neither with cargo, so the airplane is relatively light for this, well, short flight. So you don't need to advance any thrust levers, just releasing the parking brakes will cause the airplane to start rolling, and you basically have to control the forward speed by applying some brakes every now and then. So let's switch on the transponder. And continue to taxi to runway 24, which is a short taxi. Round here, around the corner, and then we are already near the end of the runway. Now there's some good news from the scenery front. And that's that UK 2000 is now releasing their sceneries for X-plane as well. I had almost every UK 2000 scenery in FSX, and I really like the airports. So I cannot wait for them to release Edinburgh. Next one in line right now is Norwich, that will release in approximately a week. I believe they are aiming for August the 5th, 2017 to release that airport. And it will be a definite buy for me. So here we are. Let's just taxi a bit slow right now. Gives us some time because it's a short taxi to perform some checks. So let's go to the before takeoff checklist. Well, we are already taxiing. Light switches are on, parking brakes, flaps are set. Okay. So what we will switch on right now is the strobe light. We are approaching the runway already. Let's also already switch on the landing lights. Well, let's add in a little bit of thrust. Not too much. Let's arm the auto throttles right now. And let's say we are clear to line up runway 24. So here we are, lined up runway 24. Now, by the way, there's this electronic flight book in here as well. It has some limited functions. There are some charts for certain airports, for instance Amsterdam. You can zoom into a chart, move it around, which is quite handy if you are, for instance, taxiing to a certain gate and you're not familiar with the airport. But it's just some charts that are in here, there's not much else. So I'm not really using it for this flight. There is no charts for either Edinburgh or Maastricht, so there's no need to. But anyway, let's switch on the chronometer. Advance the thrust levers, we are cleared for takeoff. Press the takeoff go around button. As soon as both engines hit about 55%. Right now. rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. Blown a little bit of course.
Pull up.
Alright, flaps 1. Set the autopilot engaged. And let's retract the flaps. Of course, in explain the damage that is caused by flaps being extended above V flaps extended. That means above the maximum speed for flaps extension that is modeled. So if you fly too fast with your flaps extended, the airplane will be rolling quite aggressively to one side. And well, it's almost impossible to recover from that, especially at these low altitudes. But here we are climbing out over Scotland, climbing to 6,000 feet, which is the altitude constraint for this SID. We will dial in flight level 410 already. So the airplane will continue to climb as soon as we pass our altitude constraint. Let's set the QNH to standard. So that's the takeoff, climb out. So let's perform some, oh, we can switch off the taxi lights, by the way. Nose gear light can be switched off as well. And let's just go to the after takeoff checklist. Eye selectors are auto already, altimeter standard is set, transition is called, checked. Called, landing and runway lights off, seatbelts are auto. Well, landing lights are not off right now because we are still below 10,000 feet, of course. As you're used to clouds and weather, our SkyMax Pro V4.5 and the photo scenery tiles by zonephoto.x-plane.fr. Coming up already. So what I'll do is I'll cut the video here, and I'll be back with you as soon as we reach the top of descent, and I'll do the approach preparations. And after that, it's another cut in the video until we are on in the approach to Maastricht-Aachen airport. So see you in a second. Hello and welcome back. We are well into our flight now. As you can see, we are approximately 35 miles away from our top of descent, so it's time to do some approach preparations. So let's start by selecting the speed brakes to 3. And let's check out the chart for the ILS approach for runway 21 in Maastricht. Here it is, ILS frequency 111.55 on a course of 213. So it's important that we check that frequency and course in the nav radio page of the flight management computer. It's already dialed in here, 111.55 at 212. So we can basically select that already to make sure that when we are near the airport that will be already as it should, and we have to descend to 2,500 feet. That's the intercept altitude for the ILS, and our missed approach altitude will be initial 2,000, but then climb on to 3,000 feet. And then we have to re-execute the approach if necessary. Of course, we go for a one-time landing, but just in case, never hurts to check that. So missed approach altitude will be set to 3,000 feet. We already set the auto brakes. There are no warning signs in here. We have plenty of fuel, still 10,000 kilos. So we should be able to see the Dutch coastline anytime soon now. We are now somewhere over here. And according to the progress page, we are 30 miles out, 160 miles out, and there's a quick rule of thumb to calculate the distance for your top of descent. You divide your altitude by 1000, so 41,000 divided by 1000 equals 41. Multiply the outcome by 3, makes 123, and that's basically the distance at which you have to start your descent if you make a circuit approach to the airport. If you fly straight in, which is well basically what we will be doing, you add another 10, so that makes it 133 miles. So basically we have to initialize our descent between 133 and 140 miles out. So let's just already select a lower altitude on the MCP. Let's say we are clear to descend all the way to flight level 100, that's 10,000 feet. So now when the airplane touches the top of descent, it will start to descend to 10,000 feet immediately. Let's run the... Let's see if there's anything in the checklists that we might have missed right now. It's a bit of a lousy positioning with the throttles down there. For descent, nav radio page, we have done that. Oh, we have to set our minimums, of course. That's quite handy to do. So let's say we use the radio altimeter and we want to decide whether to continue the landing or go around at 250 feet. Now, as you can hear, the auto throttle is now pulling back on the throttles, causing the airplane to start its descent. We have the radio altimeter set for 250 feet minimums. Well, I don't have to check the QNH because I set the weather manually, so that will be 29902 also in Maastricht. So we are now descending, still over the North Sea, with the Dutch coastline coming up. And I'll cut the video here again, and I'll be back with you when we are, well, starting our approach, or well into our approach. We'll see about that. But anyway, see you guys in a couple of seconds. So hello and welcome back. I think I'll pick up the descent in here. We are now over the city of Eindhoven. Of course, I think it's well known in many parts of the world. If you watch the series Band of Brothers, because Eindhoven is the city where the 101st Airborne Division had its main objectives during the Battle for Arnhem in September 1944. So you might have heard of it in that respect. Nowadays it's quite a big city in the Netherlands, has a technical university, an airfield which is down there, which is also an Air Force base, where the logistics airplanes for the Dutch Air Force are stationed. And more recent, it was in the news a couple of years ago when the MH17 was shot down over Ukraine, when the remains of the victims were transported to the Netherlands. They arrived in Eindhoven and were transported by hearse to Hilversum. The images of these hearses forming a column over the highway were on CNN and all over the world, I think. So you might have heard of Eindhoven because of these 2 or 3 things. But anyway, we are approaching 10,000 feet. We are also approaching the entry point for our standard arrival route. We still have to set our approach speeds. So let's go to the approach page. Now let's say we do a flaps 30 landing with speed 140 knots. 10,000 feet coming up, so we have to stand by to employ the speed brakes to reduce speed to 50 knots and engage the landing lights. So let's just set the speed brakes out. Yeah, now it's still complaining, but in a minute when we reach the 10,000 feet, so let's switch on the landing lights now. Speed has to be reduced to 40 knots, there it goes already. Let's extend the speed brakes, get rid of that speed quite rapidly. And let's arm the speed brakes now, so that's done. We already set the altitude for 2,500, being the intercept altitude for the ILS. So let's run the approach checklists, see if we have anything there that we can do already. Altitude is verified, landing and runway lights are on, no smoking switch, well that's not, well, but it is on. Engine anti-ice is auto. Altimeters, they are still 29902. So for now we're good. Looks like we have identified the ILS already. Which is a good thing. Now let's start to reduce some speed. So let's move it over to vertical speed and reduce the forward speed to 220 knots now. Descend a little bit more rapid to also give the airplane some time to get rid of the speed. Of course it's quite a big airplane, so but it has some very effective speed brakes. We want to be at 2,000 feet, 2,500 feet at Echo Hotel 306 with a forward speed of 180. So we are going to descend a bit more rapidly so we can fly straight on level for a short while, which will allow us to drop speed rather quickly. Increase the speed brakes again. Or deploy the speed brakes, I must say. Let's just verify that the QNH is indeed 29902 in air. It is. Set the approach mode and engage the approach mode, or let's engage the, well, should have engaged the localizer hold first and then switch over to approach mode once we were established on the localizer, but cannot change that now anymore. So let's go to the map view, let's reduce speed 180 knots now. Set the QNH to 2992 and over to the approach mode.
2500.
ILS is fully identified and the airplane is now starting its turn to intercept it. Localizer is alive. Let's get rid of some speed. Speed management is an issue with this airplane. Let's set flaps 1. Yeah, let's go to flaps 5 immediately. So we are on the ILS, established on the localizer at least, 10 miles out. Let's reduce speed further, 160 knots. Set flaps 15. By the way, the Maastricht airport scenery that you are about to see, that's Aerosoft Maastricht. Aerosoft has released a very nice scenery package a couple of weeks, maybe months ago. Bought it immediately, it looked very nice, but I just hadn't used it in any video until now. But it's really worthwhile. Maastricht-Aachen airport is the second largest cargo handling airport in the Netherlands. So let's reduce speed further. Set it to 150. Flaps 20, gear down. Glide slope is alive and glide slope green. Runway is in sight. There it is. Let's reduce the speed to 140 knots. And set flaps to 30. So let's run the landing checks. Flaps 30 green. Localizer glide slope established. Gear is down and locked. This is basically a step-by-step guide through the landing procedure. So I just run my own checklist. Gear is down, locked 3 green, flaps 30 green, spoilers armed, auto brakes set 3, missed approach heading 212 is set, missed approach altitude 3000 feet is set. Landing lights are on, runway turn-off lights can be engaged. And that's the landing checklist completed. Runway is in sight. So let's just bring her in manually. Autopilot disconnected, auto throttle disengaged. Pilot has control. The airplane handles quite nice when you fly it manually. You really have the feeling of flying a big airplane, but it's responds just very nice to the controls. Landing cleared. Reverse. Of course, with these massive engines on full reverse, you decelerate quite quickly. And here we are, Maastricht International Airport, runway 21. Disengage the auto brakes. Now let's just see how that landing looked. To me it felt like it was quite smooth. The airplane is very stable if you fly it on manual control. Now this is the Maastricht-Aachen airport scenery by Aerosoft, like I mentioned. As you can see, it's a beautiful rendition. Single runway airport. Flared a little bit aggressively down there. Should have made that more gentle. Caused a quite late touchdown. Of course, with the big engines, there's a lot of power in them, so if you flare too aggressively, you will take off again. But all in all, not too bad, I think. So let's just well, I think I've got the video here. There's no point in, because I have to taxi all the way down to the end of the runway, turn, backtrack to here, and then we can taxi. Oh crap, that's the just replay mode. As you can see, the Maastricht-Aachen airport scenery. Very nice airport. It's in the border region between the Netherlands, Germany and Belgium. And it's, well, like I said, the second busiest cargo airport in the Netherlands in terms of tonnage of transported goods. And there's also some charter airlines. Ryanair flies there. I believe WOW has some flights. It's a very nice little airport to fly to or from if you want to fly to or from the Netherlands. But anyway, that was the video. I hope you liked the video. The impression of the Worldliner 777 that I gave you was good enough to, well, make the decision whether you want to buy it or not, whether you think it's up to the BMDG 777. Like I said, I cannot make the comparison because I don't own the BMDG. But I hope that I gave you a good impression. So if you have any questions, tips, tricks, comments, or whatsoever, please leave them in the comment section below. As usual, please do so in a respectful manner. And I hope to see you in a next video. So thank you for watching. Bye bye.